The Big Two's battle continued on Saturday, dominating the headlines of another eventful wrestling weekend. AEW headed to Toronto, while in Indianapolis, WWE kicked off their ESPN era. Elsewhere though, CMLL led the way on Friday, quite possibly hosting the weekend's best.
Hey, that's the name of the show.
The much-anticipated rematch between Mistico and MJF rocked Arena Mexico on Friday, earning Match of the Year buzz. I celebrated the occasion with LNG Original Confirmed Shoot, a recent CMLL convert who has fell in love with wrestling's hottest promotion. Well, Matt, we are, not even a month removed from MJF's very divisive Forbidden Door title match. And as always with MJF, there's a great deal of debate surrounding his every move, right? Like the ups, the downs, every step of it feels exacerbated and kind of loud and debated, contentious even. Fair to say he had a strong weekend here this past weekend, and that started on Friday night. He and Mistico, a match they've been building to, and a match that I think most of us thought would be very, very good. I don't know if we expected it to be this, though, which was, dare I say, a classic and a Match of the Year candidate. You were watching live. Talk me through that experience, watching as that drama unfolded.
The best way I can put it would be a moment in time, lightning in the bottle. You know, that's the beautiful thing about wrestling is you get those moments every now and then. Now this, I've been watching wrestling for 35 years, and anyone who's watched this platform knows I'm prone to being hyperbolic and
as you should be though, right? That's part of it. Yeah.
I genuinely, this is up there with stuff like Rock Hogan.
Wow. It's like vivid experiences.
Yeah, just like a vivid moment in time where just a perfect storm of events where everything went exactly the way it needed to go. And the entire build to this was done so well. And going back to what you were talking about with Max being very divisive, I think this entire Mistico angle is a testament to Max's growth. I think that this entire story in the hands of Max of 3 to 4 years ago would be terrifying and frankly, probably quite offensive. He did a very good job, I thought, of not crossing those lines because there was no reason to. It wasn't necessary. Max is in a lot of ways a perfect foil for Mistico. He's loud, he's obnoxious, he's cocky, and then you just happen to throw in the fact that he's American, and so you can happen to throw in that extra element of America versus Mexico in certainly a time where that's very relevant and again could have become very problematic, and it did not. And I do think genuinely, I think Max deserves credit for how he walked that line, and they never did. I mean, that I saw. And I don't see all like the Informa promos and things like that, but I never saw anything that I felt like came close to crossing the line. It was just classic old school pro wrestling heat. And then you got to this match, and look, this was a match that I was very excited about. I have become a big fan of Mistico in this year. I've been watching CMLL now for a few months. I'm far from an expert, and I won't even pretend I am. But I at least do have a little bit more context in that I've been watching at least the Friday shows for, the last 3-4 months. And I just, there's something about Mistico in that building. Not just that building, any CMLL building, but especially that building.
Yeah.
I think he belongs in the pantheon of all-time professional wrestlers in that element. So you had this cocky, Max is still young, so you can say cocky young upstart coming into the territory. He wins the light heavyweight title, which I think titles in Mexico are nowhere near as important as they are here. That's not to say they don't matter, but it was not, I think in America we'd be like, that's like a massive deal. It's less so there.
Yeah.
but still, like, this was he's the light heavyweight champion. He's putting the title on the line against Mistico in Arena Mexico on their biggest show of the year, in I think what is unquestionably the hottest promotion in the world right now. What is the promotion of the year? I don't even think there's really a debate. So this was a massive match, and this was a big moment for both of them, really, because Mistico, there's actually been from what I understand, a kind of a thing where he tends to get the short end of the stick on these anniversary shows. Like, he keeps waiting to have like that class. Like, even this wasn't the main event. Like, it's the only match people are going to remember, but it was not the main event of this show. And that seems to happen to him a lot. And I think that kind of tells the tale of what happened in this match too, because I think I can't speak for them obviously, but I think both of them were probably like, this is the main event, and we're going to show you why it should have been. Yes.
Yeah. And, I talked about Max a lot at the start, but Mistico, is important to say, as great as MJF is in this match, this may be the performance of the year from Mistico, who is astonishing as a babyface in this setting in general, but he had the blood to work with, and this is important, and the blood had such power in this setting because it isn't commonplace at all, right? And he added a real danger to the affair, and how quickly did it happen? 30 seconds after the bell?
I mean, that's part of it. And I think it's important to remember, and I think some people are guilty of doing this, where we act like the international audiences are simpler than we are. And that's absolutely not the case. Like, the Arena Mexico crowd is a very smart crowd. And I would say that 90% of the people in that building knew Mistico was going to win that match. So creating that drama where all of a sudden you're like, wait a second, like, these people were genuinely worried for him, and that an all-time babyface performance. I'm not qualified to say it's the best performance of his career because I haven't seen enough of it to say, but it's hard to imagine that he's got many that are better than that. The way he sold the blood loss, like he was going to pass out, and he did it in such a way that it never felt over the top or like performative. Yeah. Like, it just felt very, very real. He even did it after honest. The match. Yeah. Like, he tried to climb the turnbuckle to celebrate, and he fell off. Like, so yeah, and again, blood is not common at all there. I don't even believe it's allowed normally, which has obviously led to a lot of debate to whether it was intentional or not. I think, there's no point. It doesn't matter anyway, but like,
Can you imagine it wasn't just a complete happy accident?
Yeah. And it led to some incredible visuals. The above the ring shots where you could see the blood all around the ring. And look, I'm someone who I like blood in wrestling. But I do think this is a time where you can see where sometimes there are diminishing returns to it. When you do it too much, it doesn't mean anything.
There's a lesson in this for sure, right? Yeah.
This is a situation where it was like, this added to the match in such a way. Like, this match would still have been good, but that's what's going to make everyone remember it. Is his, like, I freaked out when he tore his mask just because I'm like, you can like see him. Like, you can see half of his face.
Well, that's always an incredible visual, right? The juice and the mask being torn, and I do go for it, mate. Carry on.
I was going to say, the mask actually added to the, it's an interesting thing because obviously masks make it harder for blood, but because they tore it open, but then it added to the visual because his mask like changed colors as the match goes on. Like, his mask was pink by the end. Like, it's insane.
You mentioned about the crowds, and I agree with you completely. It's a fine line between, like, the simpler crowd thing. It's very dismissive. I completely agree with you, and it isn't accurate for that building. I think the word that is different, though, there is a sincerity, right, that, and I saw Ibu talking about this, and he brought up when we were doing our Grinalong last night, like, it did feel like Max was unlocked by that sincerity, where sometimes stateside, I think the crowds are so cutesy. Mm-hmm. Max feels he has to like subvert them 3 times to get the heat he wants, whereas here, he could just go straight down the line as a heel and get crazy heat, dude. Yep. I mean, the sound when Mistico won was unbelievable.
Yeah, and it doesn't even... The feed didn't even fully do it justice. Like, if you have time, go to YouTube and search like Mistico, and you'll see something like, it's insane. And the visuals are a little different than we're used to in America because it is a big thing there that you're not supposed to stand up. So you didn't see the crowd jump to their feet like you would see at a normal show, but that was not an indication of their feelings. They're not supposed to do that. They're supposed to stay seated so the tourists can see the show. So that's like a real thing that's ingrained in them, that they stay seated. Because it can throw you off a little bit. Like you did the crowd shots and everyone's sitting down, and we're so used to like everyone being on their feet. But it's very much that's a cultural thing that's ingrained to don't ruin the evening for the tourists by blocking their view.
I never knew that. That's fascinating.
So that's why you don't see a ton of, like, it was they didn't do it at the AEW show. So it looked a little bit more like what we're used to. But normally there's ushers that are like telling people to sit down.
Dude, I feel like I'm recording this thing with Lucha Blog, bro. You're locked in. One thing too, on a weekend where there was a lot of great action, but we talked about the lessons we learned with the blood. This match was not 20 minutes long, dude. And it feels like there's so many moments in it you'll remember, right?
It's a 17-minute match, and the one that I watched the match twice because my wife watches CMLL,
which is not common for you.
No, it's not. I don't normally rewatch stuff, and I didn't even rewatch this match because it was like, I need to see this again. I rewatched it because my wife had to work; she didn't get to see it, so I was like, I'm gonna watch it again with her. But it did unlock a new thing where I got to watch it without having the overwhelming feeling of like, this is at the moment. I wasn't in the moment anymore. And the match itself is actually better than I think I realized when I watched it originally. And look, this isn't a Moose match. Like, this is not.
But there are pockets of that, right?
There are
pockets.
Yes, there are. But this is not like. I certainly think there are plenty of modern fans who are going to see this match and be like, why are people calling this? No context. I think there's enough that you would understand the moment, but it is not the 30-minute.
It's old school, right?
Yeah.
It's old school. Yeah.
We're not hitting 45 false spin. And look, I like that type of wrestling, so I'm not diminishing it.
But this is a throwback.
This is very different, and this is wrestling that makes you feel something. And obviously for me, because I've become a big fan of Mistico, so I had that added layer. But I think even if you didn't, I think there's enough context that you would understand the story of like this. I mean, I guess you wouldn't if you'd never seen Mistico before and you don't know his story. There are you'd miss a little bit, but
it's universal, right?
Yeah.
This is good versus evil, right? Yeah.
And this is an incredible story. This is such a cool moment. I'm genuinely happy for MJF to get a cool thing like this. Look, I've been very critical of him in the past, and I still have moments where I'm like, but this is like, I think this performance is part of why I was so critical of him in the past, because I knew he had this in him. And seeing it, I think this is the best performance of Max's career. The only thing I think would be in the argument is the Danielson match. From a pure athletic standpoint, the Danielson match is probably his greatest performance. But as a professional wrestler, I think this is the best performance of his career. I hope he's proud of it. I assume he is. And then Mistico is a wrestler who has a career that maybe no one has ever had before.
It's a weird one, right?
It's honestly astonishing that this guy was the biggest star in Mexico, goes to WWE, fails spectacularly, through reasons of, there's plenty of blame to go around there.
All of the above, right?
Yes,
all of the above.
Like this thing this WWE fumbled thing. Look, I am not a fan of that company, but Mistico deserves some blame there too.
It just didn't work.
It did not work.
Did not work. No.
And then it did not work in AAA, AAA, whatever. I didn't really work there. He's been highest of high and lowest of lows, and the fact that he's made it back to where he's the biggest star in his country. He's the top guy in the hottest promotion in the world. I think he's the wrestler of the year from the definition of how, like Dave Meltzer defines the wrestler of the year. We don't, I think Bandito's the actual, he's the most outstanding wrestler, which you and I is the wrestler. But
traditionally speaking,
I don't even think anyone else has a case. Like he's still having tremendous matches, and he's drawing at a level that no one else in wrestling is right now. It's just, it's a match I'm never going to forget. I've been watching wrestling for 35 years now, and I would put it in that upper echelon of all-time unforgettable moments. It is my clear match of the year. It's probably my match of the last 5 years, and we've been doing this together for close to 5 years now, and you know how many matches I've loved. So that's a pretty...
You said, I think when we were texting, because I was like, I just got off the air when the match was happening. I watched the next day, and you said something like it took you back to being a kid, right?
It did.
That's different
exactly
to loving a match. That's a different
yes.
thing. Yeah.
It's that feeling you get when you know you're seeing something special, and you remember why you started loving pro wrestling to begin with. Because look, it's almost impossible to continue to watch pro wrestling in the way you watched it when you were a kid, because you learn things, and you know, when you're 10 years old and you're watching wrestling for the first time, you intrinsically you're going to think it's real, and slowly you figure out it's not. And
what do you mean?
But like, this match actually works from both standpoint of, if you thought it was real, it certainly works. But it even works like it works on so many different levels, because there's layers to it. Like the story they told, the other thing I did want to point out, and I'm saying this purely from a perspective as an American. I'm actually glad that this was not mask versus hair. I understand why that's a big deal in Mexico and why, but I'm really glad that post-match was Mistico standing tall and him getting his moment and him celebrating, because if it was hair, it would have been Max getting his hair cut and selling it in a way that, of course, Max is going to do, where it's going to be over the top and he's going to be the center of attention. And I'm really glad that that's not the way it went. Now, I understand, and I'm not saying that anyone who has a problem with it's wrong. I'm just saying, from my perspective, I'm glad that the story of this was Mistico standing tall and not the big humiliating MJF moment. So for me, it actually added to the presentation. I know the stakes, again, because titles are not as big of a deal down there. It did not have the stakes that some things normally would have in
But
Mexico.
It didn't affect the heat, because...
No, it didn't.
As you said, there was a jeopardy when he started bleeding, and that's all they needed. Great match. Definitely up there for me as a match of the year candidate. It's been a lot of great wrestling this year, right? A
100%.
lot of great wrestling. Definitely in that top tier for me. Individual performance-wise, Mystico's is one that will live long in the memory. And as far as MJF goes, we say this a lot. People will continue to debate Max, and that's fine. But there's one thing I think that's undeniable. That dude loves the game. And you could feel, it was palpable how much he was relishing that occasion, that atmosphere. That's magic, man. Seeing guys from completely different backgrounds with completely different careers make that kind of, wrestling magic together. It's a special thing. Very, very special.
And I do think it's like, look, I think we got to be honest. There are many, many top guys in the sport right now who would not do what he did. That did a months long program solely designed for that him moment, to lose to Mistico in the end. Yeah. So props to Maxwell Jacob Friedman.
Indeed. And props to you. This was a hell of a time, Matt. I appreciate it. We'll have to have you back on regularly as our CMLL correspondent. After a somewhat shaky start, AEW All Out soon settled down, overcoming a pretty tame Toronto crowd for another impressive pay-per-view offering. After a good night's sleep, Marcus and I reflected on the show's highlights, from the coffin match to Kyle Fletcher passing his latest test. Well, Marcus, you and I, we spent a lot of time with each other last night because the show was an extensive one. You were there the whole 6 hours of the Grinalong. I joined after the 0 hour tailgate pro, I should say, and
you even missed some with Joe.
Yes, I was watching, but I was not in Grinalong form yet, I have to say. I had to let you guys steer the ship, but we had a great time. We laughed, we cried, and everything in between. It's nice to have a little distance between us and the show, because you can kind of, the smoke clears, the dust settles, right? And you can reflect, a shaky start, and then I think the match that kind of got things on track, and the show didn't look back afterwards, the tables and tacks, MJF and Mark Briscoe. For folks watching this, I would have just talked with Confirmed Shoot about MJF's match at Arena Mexico on Friday. He made it 2 straight, right, in the win column in terms of performance, even if it was 2 straight L's in terms of the end of the match. I was really impressed by the way this stipulation came together. I think I was a little concerned. It was a real spectacle and a really good time. What did you make of it, boss?
Yeah, because I remember when the stipulation got announced, you think tables and tacks. 1, that's never happened before, to my memory. 2, your first thought is, okay, whose idea was this, and are they trying to avoid someone getting pinned? Like that's usually how it goes when you like do like two convoluted steps at the wall. But then on the night, everything looks good. Like MJF actually looks a little different physically. Like he's kind of shaded a little bit. He looks like a boy more so than he has before. He looks petrified to go out there, and then the actual match starts. Like Mark immediately dumps out all the tacks in the ring. And it's like, okay, I see what they're going for. This is the tension game, because like, you've seen a bunch of barbed wire death matches. It's always the big tension thing. Okay, who's gonna hit the ropes first? Who's gonna bleed first? And Mark took so many back body drops on those tacks. It was ridiculous. They're poking out the back of his head, his back. Like he was bleeding all over the damn place. And I was like, Mark, you have like 75 children. You don't have to do this to yourself. God bless you, my man, but you don't have to do this for us. I'll take it because it was great. But my God.
Yeah, it was wild. And to your point, they built to Max, falling victim to the tax, right? And yeah, I was really impressed by it's a novel idea. Let's be honest, most stipulations, I'm going to talk about the ladder match here shortly, which for all of its fun and excitement, in which there was a lot, it's something we've seen before, right? Mostly.
Yeah, you've seen it so many times and so many different companies and so many different versions of it. It's kind of hard to get engaged, but when it's good, it's good.
Yes, with this, it's like, we didn't know what it was going to be. And in the end, they turned the canvas into like a sheet of tacks. And so every bump mattered. In a strange way, psychologically, this was like much more nuanced than I think we probably present. I thought this, to be honest, I thought it was going to just kind of be a goofy like plunder match. And it actually...
Just a bunch of bric-a-brac and just with tacks there.
Yeah.
Trying to avoid someone like losing in a wild way. But no, it was basically a thumbtack death match.
Yes, and as you say, a lot of that kind of tension of will he, won't he, and the teetering and all that good stuff. And it was very, very impressive. And notably, probably the biggest win of Mark Briscoe's AEW run, right?
By a country mile, honestly. And just strictly in AEW, not Ring of Honor. Because like he lost so many big matches. He lost a ladder war to Jericho for some reason. He lost the first match to Max where he got still on the rope, rep didn't see it. Like he hasn't really been someone like we all love him to death. But he hasn't really won anything of real note. So here, getting the win and him looking as triumphant as he did, because I remember one spot where I want to say it was a suplex or something. He landed right into the tax, or was it a drop kick, something like that. Landed right into the tax again, and got right back up. And it's like, that's a babyface that is a live dog. Because in these matches you want to, have the babyface in peril and all that stuff, right? But you want to show the audience that you're alive and still in the fight, and you don't want to take him out of it. And he did a really good job of establishing, I'm getting the shit kicked out of me, right? Right. But I'm still gonna come, and I'm still gonna be alive, and I'm still gonna be in the fight.
Yeah, very much a babyface that's constantly communicating, stick with me, and the people stay with him, right? It was cool. And to your point, he didn't win because Max went through a table, which was my fear that the stipulation would be. He pinned him, dude. So notable. I think there's more chapters ahead of these two. I get the sense. What do you think?
I would hope, because this weekend where Max went 0-2 in some really bloody brawls to wrap up these feuds with both Mistico, which was a tremendous match, by the way. Like that was probably the best performance I've seen out of Max in ages. Yeah. Then he followed it up the very next night with this, and guys comeuppance, and he still got the contract. Like that's the big thing coming out of this. Mm-hmm. He lost the blow off to those feuds, but he still has the contract, and he can still weasel his way out of it and basically just no sell it and be like, hey, I lost, whatever. Y'all can have that. I still have the contract. I still got the ultimate prize here. So I think it's going to continue, I believe, in some way.
There may be a delay, right? But I think eventually we're going to get back to this. But yeah, tremendous stuff, and it got the show on track, and I thought the show stayed on track from there. Maybe my personal highlight of the night, another gruesome one, another gory one, maybe even more so, with Jon Moxley and Darby Allin, the coffin match.
Oh my God.
There was some nutty visuals in this. There was also the Darby dive where like you could see it happening, but you still pop because he wiped out both guys and the coffin. By the end of this match, the coffin barely resembled a coffin, which I think captures how crazy this got.
Yeah, Jon the top of the coffin was completely ripped off the hinges.
Yes, just like holding on. Moxley continues his recent hot streak. Darby Allin back in the thick of things. I thought this was awesome. What did you think?
Not ruled. I thought it was about what a Darby Allin and Jon Moxley coffin match would look like. Yeah. I think Ibu said this on Twitter yesterday, where even if you're just kind of squinting, you can't really see what's going on. You can still picture the way Jon Moxley and the way Darby Allin move. And they've wrestled with a lot of urgency. They didn't really do the whole entrance shtick. You let John come out and then Darby just gets the drop on him. That's how this feud's been since last October. It's just been on site. You make each other bleed. Brian on commentary added a shitload of it for me from an emotional standpoint. And I remember the interview he had with Darby on Dynamite Wednesday, where it's like, why are you doing this? And he talked about Mount Everest and he talked about what happened to Brian, that he owns that's on his hands and that's his responsibility. And then Brian slipped him the plastic bag he got choked out with. And he was like, do it. Fucking kill him. I was like, oh my God.
And that was the best visual of the whole match when he had the plastic bag and he was doing the stomps. That was like a horror movie scene, dude. That was wild, wasn't it? Jesus.
Yeah, like he's like suffocating. He's being stomped constantly. Hit a code red. I'm like, oh my God.
It was crazy, and to your point, it was exactly as anticipated in terms of the content and the tone of the thing. Pac, of course, returns on the finish. I mentioned this to you when we were watching together live, but like, I think it is something they have to be a little careful of for the Death Riders, right? Like, they've been a whole year now, and I think the one thing that's reassuring is Jon Moxley is in special form right now, which gives it a lot
He's
more.
He's awesome right now.
Yeah, he's been great, right? Since when would you say he really turned it around? Like after the Joe match, maybe? Because that match was still a little in the middle. After that, he seemed to get a lot better, I thought.
It was some point after Dynasty. I think a couple of those TV matches with the Bucks that really turned some type of gear in him. And then when it came to singles matches, the Joe match was like fine. It was cool. It was a nice cage match. The interference stuff happened because Anarchy in the Arena, where it was just a bloodbath all over Phoenix, where they just bled buckets all over the place. It's like, okay, Jon Moxley remembers it's okay to bleed. Jon Moxley remembers it's okay to have a bunch of brawls, and he's a final boss. He's the boogeyman. Wrestle like the boogeyman again, and he's doing that. And then the magnum opus was the Texas Death Match, where he just looked like a horror villain that would not go down. And then when he finally went down, it was like, he's a human after all.
Yeah. Yeah, he's locked in, and this may be the most vicious, violent version of him we've ever seen, right? He's really embodying what you just described. Vicious guy, spiteful guy. There was some scary moments in that one, but I think the match that had the one seed for scary moments, it wasn't because of gore or gruesome visuals. It was our ladder match, in which, from a Grinalong perspective, was fascinating, because I think they went like over 20, I think. And
it might have, actually. Hold on, let me check.
Yeah, and let me see. They were deep in the show, right? This is, we're talking 4th hour stuff in the main card.
It was a semi-main, right?
Yeah, second from last. So, for the first half of the match, they were doing some cool stuff, but it felt like all of us collectively were kind of collecting out, we were just kind of taking a deep breath because the main event's next. We're kind of, we're watching it, it's fun. And then in the second half of the match, it felt like everyone was in like a mission to destroy themselves.
Yeah, it was like go, 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 go.
Yeah.
And it went 24 minutes, by the way.
24 minutes, which, I mean, for a ladder match that deep in the show, that's why it felt so like a jolt, because it felt like a halfway point. Everyone was doing crazy stuff. Some of the spots in this had elements I've never seen before. That rebound element with the ladder where it like whiplashed back upright on the Brody spot.
It felt like a plastic ladder. It was just like boing, boing. It was
like an action figure. Yeah, it was crazy. Wild match, and maybe got like in terms of live reactions, dude, it was insane what this got. I mean, people just were immersed by the end of it. It got incredible reaction. What did you make of this here, second from last? What did you think?
Like we always talk about ladder matches these days, where the athletes in this business are so good, you really don't want a ladder getting in the way of it. Like, imagine Mascara Dorada, what the shit he did in that 3-way earlier. Putting a ladder in front of that would have kind of been awkward, but here, with you had some bases, you had luchadors, you had everybody just going out there to kill themselves, and the Bucks are ladder match experts at this point. JetSpeed, I thought, had a really good performance. There was that one spot they had the Bucks with the ladder where Kevin jumped over it, Speedball kicked up, and then they drop kicked themselves, and then Kevin did the UFO splash on the ladder. I'm like, dude, I remember that Wrestle Kingdom ladder match where you almost killed yourself, and people were talking about your contract at the time. I'm like, brother, save your body. But hey, that's how you wrestle ladder matches. Go out there with gusto and go out there with pomp and circumstance and go out there and kill each other.
Absolutely, and they certainly did that. You mentioned Mascara Dorada. We will certainly circle back, and that's a good note to close on today. Before we do that, we have to talk about the main event, right? Kyle Fletcher, his first pay-per-view main event. We both expect, I think, that to be a regular spot for him sooner than later. I think sooner coming out of this. He and Hangman put in a lot of time. They almost went 40 minutes. And they had a tough job on their hands because they were following the match we just mentioned. They were following a whole show of thrills and excitement and chaos and carnage. And I thought they did admirably and ended up having a terrific main event match. The thing that really stood out to me was the physicality, right? It was a grueling affair, and they were just whacking each other straight up. What did you make of the main event last night?
My first thought was Hangman's knees and Kyle's neck are going to hate them for the next 10 years. Like, they're going to hate them. Like, Hangman's doing dead eyes through tables, off the top rope, like landing like right on his feet during the Orihara moonsault on the outside. And Kyle's just dropping himself on his neck and every single time he took a bump. I'm like, oh my God. Y'all want, this is what AEW main eventers do. You go out there in front of the crowd, it's a little tired, but you just wrestled your asses off and got them right back on side by the end. Especially that closing stretch. That was tremendous.
Yeah. Yeah, and impressive because, look, we all knew the deal, right? Kyle wasn't going to win the strap here. So, like, it's hard to hook them, but they hooked them late. I'm intrigued where this came in for you in terms of, like, I think we both loved the match. Did this get to rival a Hangman Ospreay for you, or was it a little bit short of that?
A little bit short because Will Ospreay is just like a human highlight reel.
Yeah,
it's kind of what it is. Like it's gonna be really hard to top Ospreay, but Kyle did his job. He wrestled effectively. He wrestled with violence and a lot of snap. Showed ass when he needed to as a heel, and the match was just designed to be like, okay, Toronto, AEW audience at whole, will you take Kyle Fletcher seriously in a main event spot on pay-per-view? Even though you know he's not going to win, or his performance gets you to be like, okay, I can believe him main eventing Full Gear in a couple months' time. I can get him to believe that he can main event Revolution, or hell, even All In very, very shortly. And they accomplished that. And the TNT title stuff, I get people's complaints about the TNT champion wrestling for a world title, but in this case, Kyle's actively defended that belt on TV a bunch of times and had like actual like feuds with people on TV for the belt. Him getting the title shot was centered around like Mark Briscoe trying to chase him also. So he came off as a killer in the TNT title division, and he moved up a weight class to the world title scene.
Right.
And he wrestled admirably, and he wrestled like someone that he's a champion, you know? So job well done on that front. Hangman wrestled like the world champion. He's walking like the world champion. He's talking like the world champion. And we ended the pay-per-view by the babyface just winning and walking off into the sunset.
Yeah, co-signed completely, and, you know, to the point about the TNT title, there also has to be some context in terms of they're down some guys right now, right? Like, yes, I mean, you got to come a little slack in that regard, I think. So
you got no Ospreay, you got no Swerve. You murdered Kenny. Like, it is what it is.
The reason I asked about where it kind of stacked up for you was I was just intrigued because I think there is a contingent, from what I've seen today, this is their match of the year. And I think we both get that, right? Because it kicked ass and there was some great, great stuff. I think the best thing I could say about this match is, because this is going to sound insane, but I think you'll get what I mean. I think Kyle can and will do better than this, and that says a lot about what I think of Kyle Fletcher. Like, I think he was great here. Yeah.
It was just a venture of just trying to get him to... they were doing a lot to get people to just...
Yes.
See what he can do in this spot.
Yes. In a couple of years, when this is the norm for him, I think he'll be even more natural and even more poised, and we'll see even better from him. And I say that not lightly, because this was great, but... yeah, I think, you know, better to come because he's that good. Hangman and Page gets as you said, a babyface one, and that was that. And that's a refreshing thing, no doubt. Very strong main event, but I wanted to conclude with this note because in some ways I thought this was the most impressive thing on the show. Mascara Dorada, in theory, was the third wheel, right? In theory, we're building to Okada and Takeshita, the third wheel. And traditionally in wrestling, the third wheel is going to be a heel who delays the fun, right? He keeps interrupting this thing. It was so impressive that they did that in the complete opposite way, where they actually did the same formula, but Dorada was the showcase. It was all Dorada in the end, just because he's so spectacular. I kind of thought, in terms of like conclusions of the night, I kind of thought Dorada was like one of the lead ones in terms of the way he got over and the way he shined. Awesome triple threat. That may have been the best match of the night. What did you think?
I thought it was. Pretty comfortably, honestly.
Yeah.
Like, they did the whole formula of a babyface being the nuisance and the thorn in everybody's side, because it was like, it wasn't where the heel was just, cutting everybody off when they want to see, oh my God, these two who haven't wrestled in a year but have a bunch of history together, they're face to face, and then the heel just cuts everybody off and be like, actually, no. This is a babyface with two guys who have tension, and he's like, hey, I'm still here, guys. This is a three-way, not a singles match. Pay attention to me. And he's going arm drag, Rana, Tornillo, jumping off Okada to get Rana on Takeshita. Like, he's just shooting like threes from like the 40-foot line. Like, he's just emptying the clip. And the crowd, which was kind of odd at a lot of points of the night.
Yeah.
They were taking their shirts off when Dorada was doing things.
Yep.
And then there was one sequence where Okada and Takeshita are in the ring, and he just like sneaks on the outside, like kind of walking, about to get to the ropes. And Danielson did a good job on the call. He's like, he's a still alive dog. He's looking for his chance, and he just does some incredible things. And the double run off the damn top to Okada and Takeshita. I'm like, oh my goodness. And he wrestled a great match in Arena Mexico in the Aniversario show like the night before. Comes to Toronto and just ends up being the MVP of the match. It was unbelievable.
Yeah, it was. And, one thing is, we're both aware, anyone who's seen him wrestle knows how exciting this guy is. But, dude, Takeshita and Okada are big fellas. He looked physically entirely at home with them. Like, totally believable. His frame always surprises me. Like, he's a big dude, man. His size, right? And that's important, I think.
He's still a young guy also. Like 20 years
he's still
old.
filling out. Yeah, it's because I remember when he wrestled Rocky a couple years back, watching those matches, he was kind of like lanky then. Now, he's not lanky, he's a big dude.
Yeah, he's filling out a little bit.
Yes, and we should know, while we rightly celebrate Dorada, what we got of Okada versus Takeshita was very enticing. Very, very enticing. So, that in some ways, again, my favorite match was Mox and Darby, but I think this was the match that achieved the most, like, by far, actually, the more that I reflect on it. Like, they sold us that match while also selling us a new star in Dorada. So, you can't get better than that.
Yeah, a young guy who has a lot of things going for him in your partner promotion. He's had some matches on TV. They were good. They were quite fun. The more those matches he qualified to get in this match was very good.
Yeah.
But here, in a big spot where you have one of the greatest professional wrestlers on God's green earth in Okada, Takeshita won the G1 recently. He's tremendous, and they have tension, and people really wanted to see that match. And the exchange that they had, they smoked each other. Like, they scouted the drop kick, scouted the knee. Like, Takeshita had the match won, but say, you know what, I want to pin Okada. I want to really prove myself. It was very much a big bro, little bro dynamic that was going on. And the final drop kick that Takeshita took, he just died on the bottom rope before Okada got the pin.
Yeah.
I was like, Chicago, or wherever this match is happening at, buy your tickets now. At the same time, oh, by the way, Mascara Dorada is fucking incredible.
Yeah, it ticked all the boxes, gave great action and did all that. It was probably the most impressive match on the night with some really, really strong stuff. We should also quickly give a nod to our guys, the Hurt Syndicate.
Yes! We hurt people!
Who brought some Americana to Toronto. But
the architect of the business, we the merchants of Hurt. If a career needed a boost, man, I can get you some work. Let's go, man. What?
Beautiful. It was a pleasure to watch All Out with you, and we had a great time, Marcus. Appreciate you joining me for this, brother.
Always a pleasure.
Meanwhile, in Indy, WWE made a pretty inconspicuous start to their time on ESPN. As expected, though, IYO SKY and Stephanie Vaquer delivered, with AJ Lee making her return to action with an ambitious, enjoyable swing. Alright, Bob, we're on the heels of Wrestlepalooza. I've still not adjusted to that show being called Wrestlepalooza. I will never adjust. It could be 2035 and they're still going with Wrestlepalooza and I'm not going to be used to it. So, but here we are. It was an interesting one. I don't think the show was bad necessarily, but was you surprised, Bob, that it didn't have more oomph for the big premiere on ESPN? Because I was. What about you?
I was. They kind of talked about, there's going to be surprises and stuff. And I think when Cody and Drew got announced as the main event, everyone kind of thought, maybe something will happen there. But besides The Undertaker showing up and doing his whole bit with Stephanie McMahon, they didn't really do anything quote unquote big. I know Triple H had this segment at the beginning, but that's stuff that they just do at basically WrestleMania or whatever now. So like it didn't have really any added kind of stakes compared to their regular events. And you think, like, I guess that's why Brock and Cena let off, is because you would assume that, you know, more people are watching because it is ESPN. But besides that, no, they didn't really do anything to make it kind of stand out.
Do you think that's perhaps partly just it was a hurried situation, right? Because obviously it was the turnaround on this was ridiculous, right? Do you think that was part of it? It just they didn't have time, or is that a little bit generous and this is just kind of where they're at creatively? What do you think?
No, I think that's fair. It's also like there's not a ton of surprises really out there right now. Like the one surprise that always looms for them is The Rock, but like he's got a movie coming out in a couple weeks, so he's busy. Plus, like, who knows what he looks like in that ecosystem now after the WrestleMania stuff. So, like, you know, besides that, like, oh, maybe Stone Cold could have come out, but, like, there's not much difference between him and The Undertaker. I mean, there is obviously a difference between him and The Undertaker as far as people liking to see Stone Cold more, I think.
Yeah, but they're rolling the show.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm with you. Looms was a good word for Dwayne, I think. Looms is fitting. I think that's the word they would use, too. Interesting one, but it wasn't without positives. IYO SKY and Stephanie Vaquer, I think most of us circled that as the likely match of the night and a candidate for match of the weekend. It didn't quite reach the latter for me, but it definitely achieved the former. Really good stuff from two of the most watchable pro wrestlers in the whole business right now, right? It was, I really enjoyed it, Bobby. What did you think of that one?
Yeah, I thought it was awesome. You know, they had a couple of matches on Raw over the summer that I thought were really good as well. And then, you know, to kind of get it on this stage and like, you knew it was going to be probably the highest floor of any other match or any match that had, you know, on that show. And they definitely delivered, you know. It's not often that in WWE they do the thing where it's just, you know, babyface versus babyface, go out and prove who can be the better wrestler. But when they do, it's always very effective. And, it was effective again here, and, you know, credit to both of them. Like you said, they're two of the best going right now, but like, you know, kind of stayed engaged throughout. I thought the finish was awesome. I think, you know, if the women are the future in WWE, and I think a lot of people are starting to buy into that, like stuff like this is going to be more commonplace, and that's for the good of everyone.
Right. And if you buy into the idea that this was a chance to get new viewers, which I don't know if that's the truth. And honestly, being here in Britain, I don't think I'm qualified to say. But if it is, this feels like the match that was most suited to that, to be honest. This had action. Both women obviously are superstars in terms of the way they project and present themselves. It kind of felt like a bit of an outlier in that regard on a night where, I saw Alvarez even said, like, it was kind of a story-driven night.
Mm-hmm.
This felt like one you could just kind of, you know, it was kind of an exhibition, right? And it was a showcase of offense and skill, some limb work and different ingredients along the way. To your point, it is jarring how, like, this felt so different to the title norm as of late, being just an exhibition title. Like, exhibition sounds more dismissive, but to your point, it was a babyface match where they just wrestled and there was a finish, right? And someone won. Imagine that.
Yeah, it's simple. It worked, man. Like, it's worked for, you know, decades and never fails.
Indeed. Was you surprised by the result?
A little bit, I think. I think it's bold to go with Stephanie. I think it's a good choice, but, you know, she's only been there for 6 months or whatever full time. Like, they don't usually do that, but, you know, they had an opportunity and they took it, and I'm excited to kind of see where it goes for the fall for her.
It feels like a clue as to what was going to happen with Naomi and Steph, right? It feels like this was where they were going.
Mm-hmm.
Vaquer, I mean, IYO we've talked about a million times and will continue to. She's one of the best wrestlers in the world. Vaquer is so polished. Like, she knows her game, and everything she does is just, like, on point. Like, the Dragon Screw's the easiest example, right? Like, all of those are just with a jolt, with a snap. And when you can get the people to react to Dragon Screws the way she's getting them to react at the moment, that's a great sign. IYO certainly helping, no doubt. It had the one negative the match had, to be honest, it didn't have the atmosphere you'd have liked.
Yeah.
And I couldn't figure out if that was just... Because the crowd definitely, like, cared. But it was more of a... And I guess this is in line with the exhibition thing. It's like... It was one that they were just kind of watching the action rather than... Please can IYO win? Please can Stephanie win? What did you make of the crowd for this?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right. And it could be that, you know, it didn't necessarily have the story that the other matches have. You know, Stephanie's been kind of off Raw the past couple of weeks. I know she was ill or whatever. So it didn't really get like a super proper build. But like, I thought they would win them over with the work a little more. I know that's a little tougher with a modern WWE crowd. They do like to have that, you know, story element to it as well. But, you know, I think this is also probably just the first of many. I don't know if they're going to run it back immediately, but this is something you can go back to, and call back to this one, and it'll be fine going down the road. It's a really good first effort for them.
I agree, and I think, to your point, their work was good enough to hook them in the end, right? Like, it took them a while, but by the end, the people popped on the finish and they were with the match. I thought it was really, really good. One of the more enjoyable matches of the weekend, even if not quite my 1 seed. Very, very, to be honest, it was just nice to watch wrestlers of this caliber just wrestle, right? It didn't have too many set pieces or bells and whistles. It was psychologically sound and was very pleasing on the eye offensively. Just wonderful, sparkling work from both parties. A very different match is our next topic. And before I go any further, I liked this match, but it wasn't... The description I just used there would not suit this one.
Yeah.
Full transparency, I did not watch this show live after All Out. I needed to sleep. And I saw that this match went 29 minutes. And as someone that wanted to watch it because I was intrigued, seeing that number did things to me that I'm not proud of. Chills went down my spine. It really was spooky season,
Mm.
And I have to say, I actually thought, considering all the different pieces here, I thought it navigated that runtime pretty admirably. Now, it isn't perfect, Bob, and it's a pretty silly affair, but I thought it embraced that tone and was fun and was light, especially considering that length. And I had fun with this. Did you enjoy this, Bob?
I did. The length is what it is. Like, it was noticeable during the match too, watching it live. Like, hey, this is getting probably a little more time than it should have, but more or less, yeah, like you said, they made the most of it. I liked a lot of Becky and Seth kind of cutting off the ring and keeping AJ from getting in. That was really great way to tell that story, because she wasn't going to be in there too long. Her first match back in 10 years or whatever. You have to kind of hide what she might not be able to do at the moment, but they did what they had to do. There's a lot of fun kind of double team stuff, especially from those two. I liked a lot of the double submissions that would be put on. A little long, but not in the point where the stuff they did was feeling repetitive. So I think that really helped too. They were able to kind of break it up where, they were doing double teams that they were different, and they were doing, cut off spots and stuff, but they were able to change them up enough where I think it wasn't hurt as much as it could have been by being almost a half hour.
Yeah, I agree. I thought it had a lot of good ideas. And I thought really it was an impressive effort. In terms of AJ Lee specifically, I think from the Russ point of view, I think there's a lot to be positive about, right? Yes. I thought to be honest, I think it's been a little bit understated in the build-up to this, how insane it is to get back in there after 10 years. I think that's really difficult.
Mm-hmm.
And with respect to AJ Lee's career, which was a very impressive one, she does not have many 30-minute tag matches under her belt, and by that, I presume she has none. I could be wrong. I apologize if I am, but I presume none. It's hard to, even though she was protected in the first half of the match, she did chip in considerably down the stretch.
Mm-hmm.
I thought she did a good job. Now, that isn't to suggest there aren't limitations that I think are going to be an issue long-term. I'm always hesitant to this because I think, for now, it's just great she's back and I'm happy for her. I do wonder what this run looks like once we're doing singles matches, Bob.
Yeah.
And that's not to say she can't do it, but I guess what level can you do it where it still works? Like, how does it look when she wrestles some of the women? And I'm not someone who's big on the evolution of the sports stuff, because I think it can be very dismissive for the veterans, but, we just about IYO SKY and Stephanie Vaquer. It's a weird thing to imagine. It doesn't mean it can't work, Bob, right? But you get what I'm saying here.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be an interesting challenge. I think you saw it with Nikki Bella to an extent, in her comeback run so far, where she's getting there, but it is taking some time because, it has evolved and the athleticism, and it's just so much different now. So she's going to probably lean on, Becky going forward, especially during this feud, to kind of help her get through these matches a little bit. And then, see where she's at. If there's, a Bayley feud, I know obviously there's a lot of ties there, and, Bayley would want to help her out. And so, yeah, I mean, I don't think it's going to be perfect, but I think there's going to be a version of it that is about as good as you're going to be able to get, and they're going to be able to get to that version. AJ in particular will be able to get to that version.
Yeah, and to your point, they've got a lot of tools at their disposal in terms of people that can help. I mean, I agree. It's like a Roxanne Perez is another one, right? I think long-term, my suggestion would be, I know the kind of crazy element to the character is part of the appeal, and it can stay. Becky is great at, oh, brother, like begging off, selling, being scared. Long term, I think AJ will find most comfort as an underdog babyface, right? Like, for this works because she's the equalizer, which is funny and cool. When we get deeper into the run, I think selling will be key because, look, she's not, an offensive dynamo, right? She's just not, and that's fine. You don't have to be. She's over. She's a star. She's a personality. So I think it can work. It's going to take some creativity. And I liked the match. I thought it came out well. And I guess the question is, Becky and AJ are going to do more stuff. Do Seth and Punk do more stuff, Bob?
I guess so. I mean, I don't know how much more you could really do, but you would think Punk's going to ultimately win the title back from him to finish the story there. So,
finish the story. Oh,
yeah,
Wow, very nice. All right, final question: will Drew McIntyre win the world title this year?
Man, not this year. I don't think you're running out of shows this year, but hopefully next year. I thought last night was a good chance for him, but they kind of just,
Well, the reason I say this year is it seems like they're going to wrestle again, right? So
it does.
If they're going to wrestle, I mean, you get to a point, Bob, if they're going to wrestle again, you almost have no choice, right? But to flip, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, if that's the title match for Survivor Series or something, then I mean, I think you kind of have to do it there because, I mean, Drew can only lose so many of these before you have to stop taking him seriously.
Yeah, I think we are, if we aren't at the point, we're about approaching the line. But we shall see, Bobby. Appreciate you for joining me for this chat, mate. Thank you.
Yeah, for sure.
Thanks for watching, folks. Please like the video and subscribe for more grins. To join us live almost daily, head to Late Night Grin, hitting the join button for exclusive watch-alongs, wrestling history lessons, and live Q&As. Keep grinning, folks. All how.